weird. This early morning, let's answer a question from social media. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This morning, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars, and you wish to meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. If at any point during this morning's live stream you have a question about Buddhist meditation or philosophy, there is no need to be bashful. Simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. Well, that's weird. Let's fix that bad boy. Okay. Ellen Rapley asked, I have terrible ADHD and I believe it interferes with the meditation sessions. How can I help myself to overcome this? She elaborates, I find it very difficult to focus on anything, any potential thoughts or anything like that. I can't seem to do it for very long, maybe 20 minutes, and I don't get anything of substance. It's deeply frustrating. Any help would be appreciated. All right. So, if you are practicing concentration, which is rigidly focusing your mind on one object to the exclusion of everything else, then yes, ADHD would be dreadful. But as someone who has ADHD, I can tell you that meditation is the opposite of concentration. Concentration is predicated on two things, being rigid and being controlling. However, in meditation, as opposed to concentration, we replace, instead of relying on rigidity, we rely on flexibility. And instead of relying on being controlling, we rely on being laid back, which is ideal if you have ADHD. So I'll elaborate on this in more detail when we get to the appropriate part of the section, but basically, find a sustainable way to sit. As you sit there, you can play with certain words, like watching this and relaxing. We are already wired during each inhalation through the inner workings of our sympathetic nervous system to notice, vulnerably and passively and viscerally and randomly, to notice whatever comes up, be it sight, sound, sensation, flavor, scent, or the like, be it emotion, intention, thought, memory, and imagining. Whatever comes up, whether it's external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring. If you sit as tall as you can, if with each inhale you distend your diaphragm, the sheet of muscle at the base of your rib cage, if with every exhalation you physically relax as best you can, with each exhalation, we automatically access the parasympathetic nervous system, which is already wired for both physical relaxation and mental release. If you do that, you will make progress on the path. You will feel more peaceful. If you were to, so here's what I recommend. Take an incremental approach using the timer on your smartphone. For the first 2.5 minutes, play with the phrase, watching this, relaxing. For the second 2.5 minutes, play with the phrase, feeling this, relaxing. That is a wonderful place to begin. So 2 sessions of 2.5 minutes each gives us 5 minutes, which is appropriate for your first week. Practice once every 12 hours or so. No need to get uptight about it, but approximately once every 12 hours. After doing this for 7 consecutive days, you may feel a strong desire to meditate a little bit more. Fine. Your second week, why not meditate for 5 minutes every 12 hours? If you progress thusly, training consistently every 12 hours, and progressing by adding an additional 5 minutes to your total every 7 days, within less than 20 weeks, less than half a year, you will have forged an effortless habit of sitting 60 minutes twice a day. And because you progressed incrementally, it'll be easier on your mind, easier on your body, easier on your schedule, and easier on your relationships. In fact, if you have a dog or a cat and you meditate, they'll sit there with you. Cats are sensitive to energy and they love hanging out with meditators. Now, every day I broadcast, well, give me a minute here. Every day I live stream 4 meditation classes without any advertisements, health permitting. If you find value from my instructions and techniques, with your assistance, this channel could come to help support the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick-and-mortar meditation centers, each replete with a resident teacher and their apprentice. If this sounds good to you, you can help out even for as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month. Just use your smartphone's camera to capture this QR code. Or if you're old school like me, simply scroll down and click one of the donation links in the description area below the video. Now, I said all that to let you know that you can watch me live or recorded on YouTube anytime you want to practice. Of course, if you come to a live class, you can ask me questions in real time, which is awful nice. Anyway, if you're patient with yourself and you progress by 5 minutes a week within less than a half a year, within 20 weeks, you could be comfortable attending my daily lecture, my lectures and practices. And it could get progressively easier and easier and easier for you. I have ADHD. I'm on both the ADHD spectrum and the autism spectrum. I have a shit ton of brain damage, birth trauma brain damage. I have a shit ton of disabilities. And the nice thing about that is I have a wealth of hacks. I've learned how to cope with a very weird body and how to thrive despite and sometimes because of its eccentricities. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. But be careful. There are more unqualified teachers than there are qualified teachers. The more people who promote being rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, competitive, and cruel than there are people who promote being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, cooperative, and kind. It's lame, but it's true. So there you go. In fact, and this is going to sound very controversial, but I would not be surprised if the greatest luminaries were neurodivergent. So if you have ADHD, I assure you it is not a non-starter. And in fact, it can act as an excellent bullshit detector when selecting a teacher. For if they give you terrible advice, few things are as efficient as unearthing the obviously terrible advice of a would-be teacher than neurodivergence. Having said that, and having done my 60 seconds of housekeeping, we can skedaddle straight to this morning's practice. By the way, today my hair is my homage to Hermione Granger. We're going to begin with preliminary practices, which are known by many names, including right view, the first fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. We're going to explore it, metaphorically. But first, a heads up. Consider, if you will, this painting of two Buddhas sitting in tantric union. In Sanskrit, this could be described as Samantabhadra Karma Mudra. In Tibetan, as Kuntu Zangpo Yabyum, and in English as All Good One, Mother and Father. The iconography of this yadam, or archetype of enlightenment, functions merely to organize the 8 metaphors necessary for deeply transformative contemplation. We will work with these metaphors inferentially, 4 in the beginning and 4 at the end, kind of like bookends on a shelf. So we're going to begin with our first set of 4 figurative contemplations. I like to describe this, known by many names, such as the worthless name, the vague name, Yoga of Inconceivabilities. I prefer the term Wisdom's Dance of Impermanence and Interdependence. And so you'll notice this depicts a person sitting cross-legged in meditation, wearing a hat, turning into rainbow light. So for the next 4 contemplations, we're going to use the verb melt as a metaphor of impermanence, the contemplation of which can help us to leapfrog over our clinging tendencies. We're going to use this inference of absorption as a metaphor of interdependence, the contemplation of which could help us to leapfrog over our competitive tendencies. So, how weird could it be if the circumstances of each being, of each world, including ourselves, blissfully melted into rainbow light that now absorbed into our body? Now, it's not our job to actively visualize this or believe it or explain it. If we just take the lazy bastard approach and simply play with these words and recite them silently and mentally in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalations and our relaxations, we will make great progress on the path, because this is not a question, this is a rhetorical question, which means its power does not lay in its answering, but in its reciting, even if we are reciting it as we are, silently. Now let us switch gears from the circumstantial to the physical. How weird could it be if all bodies of all beings, including ourselves, blissfully melted into rainbow light that now absorbed into our personal experience of the interpersonal? With each inhalation, as we distend our diaphragm, our spine will already feel like becoming a little taller. So just go with that flow. Now let us switch gears from the physical to our experience of the interpersonal. How weird could it be if all beings' experience of the interpersonal now melted into rainbow light that now absorbed into our mind? We switch gears now from the interpersonal to the mental. How weird could it be if each being's experience of the mental now melted into rainbow light that blissfully melted into a vast, empty void, a vast, empty expanse? If you're a sci-fi geek, a great example of this would be seen in the first Matrix movie and described as the construct. Having completed our first of two sets of contemplations, we can now turn our attention to our first of two sets of meditations. This particular one could be described as awareness and letting go. It could also be described as great completion stage tantra. Excuse me. So, with each inhalation, we could notice the play of mind, just watching mind just do whatever it does. What we can accomplish that by silently and mentally reciting the phrase, watching this. This is deceptively simple, but remember, arguably the world's best hypnotherapist, Dr. Milton Erickson, MD, specialized in vagaries. And so for him, pronouns were very important. We'll also physically relax into the non-graspable nature of mind. We'll do that by silently and mentally reciting the word relaxing in coordination with each exhalation. So remember to sit in a sustainable posture, to sit tall. With each inhalation, distend your diaphragm. With each exhalation, relax as best you can. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll notice in small print, first collection of 16 sets, 12 sets of 16 rounds, and I probably need to realign the display. So here's what that means. A round is comprised of one inhalation followed by one exhalation. If we wish, we can count 16 rounds on the creases and tips of our 4 left fingers. During each inhalation, we can advance the tip of our left thumb. And then we begin our first round. And then we begin our second round, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. And now you've completed 16 rounds. If you wanted to, you could keep track of those rounds on your right hand. So for instance, we did 4 rounds of contemplations, and then if we wanted to, we could start 12 rounds of, we did 4 contemplations, and then we started, right now, we're fixing to start 12 sets of 16 rounds. First set, second set, third set, fourth set, fifth set, sixth set, seventh set, 8th set, 9th set, 10th set, 11th set, 12th set. Now, is this mandatory? No, it's not, but I find it to be terribly helpful. Breathing from your diaphragm. So we can literally watch with our eyes, or we can metaphorically watch with our mind. We want to find the middle ground between our eyes being so wide open we strain our forehead, or so tightly closed we fall asleep. For some people, that middle ground is being with our eyelids at half mast. If you notice things, eventually your eyes might drift up to the sky. Unless if you're sitting in front of a window. And if you're not sitting in front of a window, they might drift up the wall. That's fine. You might notice what you notice with crystal clarity. That's fine. It may be blurry. That's fine. You may observe optical illusions. That's fine. The meaning does not come from labeling what you observe. The meaning comes from watching whatever unfolds in the present moment and then physically relaxing as best you can during the exhalation. The great irony is this exercise actually comes remarkably natural for people struggling or for people who possess the neurological condition of ADHD. As we breathe in, we can experience phenomena as appearing, literally or figuratively. As we breathe out and relax and release, we can experience that exact same phenomena as being as non-graspable as a vast empty void. This is not because of any contrivance, that's just the way that's just because of the play, the natural play of our autonomic nervous system with the various phases of breathing. As we do this, our eyes may focus, our vision may focus, our vision may blur. We may see single, we may see double. It don't matter. Let it do what it do. The great irony is every child who's been scolded by their parents has stood up or sat up while gazing at their parents' face. So from childhood, circumstance has metaphorically conspired to train us to perform this very meditation. We're now going to prepare for our second of third contemplations. Perhaps I should say set of contemplations. Okay. Paste. We're now going to approach our second dance. This one consists of mindfulness and meditation, or perhaps we should describe it as noticing and release. Okay, now I need to verify that the display is still in alignment. Excellent. So, we're now going to explore the irony. How weird it is that as we breathe in, our circumstances could seem rather visible. And yet, as we relax into our exhalations, our exact same circumstances could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a cloudless sky. They could feel as if they were as non-graspable as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise comprised only of light. Now let us explore another irony. How weird is it that as we breathe in, our body could feel somewhat sensual, and yet, as we relax into our exhalation, this exact same body could feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. It could feel as non-graspable as a real or imagined archetype of enlightenment comprised only of light. Welcome to this morning's live stream. When you have a question about meditation, Buddhist meditation or philosophy, simply type that question in great detail in the chat window. Going to take a moment to make sure that the display is still synchronized. Excellent. So now let us contemplate an oddity. How as we breathe in, our experience of the interpersonal could feel rather resounding, and yet as we physically relax into our exhalation, this exact same experience of the interpersonal could feel as if it was as non-graspable as a cloud, as a blue, cloudless sky. It could feel as non-graspable as a real or imagined mantra comprised only of light. Now, it's not our job to visualize. All we do is silently and mentally recite these words in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation and our relaxation. We will make progress on the path. let us explore an oddity. How very odd it is that as we breathe in, mind's functions could appear quite clearly to us. As we breathe in, we could clearly see, hear, feel, taste, smell, and the like. We could clearly emote, intend, reason, recall, and imagine. And yet, as we relax into our exhalation, this exact same mind could feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. This exact same mind could feel as if it was as non-graspable as a one-syllable mantra comprised only of light. Remember, with each in-breath, sit tall as you distend your diaphragm. Having exercised our mind with contemplations, we can now rest our mind in meditation. This meditation is known as bliss and letting go. It is also known as completion stage tantra. It's super simple. As we breathe in, we give ourselves permission to feel the play of sensations as we silently and mentally recite feeling this. And with each exhalation, we give ourselves permission to relax into sensations' non-graspable nature as we silently and mentally recite relaxing. Our first two contemplations pertained to the wisdom of letting go. Our final set of contemplations are all about love and letting go, which is known by many names, including generation stage, generation, oh, one moment here, generation, or creation stage tantra. It's super simple. Let us, as we play with these words, let us lovingly wish that each mind of each being was now as wise as a Buddha's mind, symbolized by a bija or a one-syllable mantra. There is no need to visualize or emote. As we silently and mentally, as we inhale, we can silently and mentally recite bija wise. And as we exhale, as we relax into our exhalation, we can silently and mentally recite for all minds. Let us, as we silently and mentally recite mantra love during our inhalation, and as we silently and mentally recite for all speech during our relaxing exhalation, may we silently and mentally wish, may we sincerely, or I should say, lovingly wish that each being's experience of the interpersonal would be as loving as a Buddha's communication symbolized by a mantra. As we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite Yedam Health. As we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite For All Forms. And as we do so, we could lovingly wish that all bodies of all beings now enjoy the supreme health that we see a Buddha enjoying in tantric art, that we see a Buddha's, that we see an archetype of enlightenment or yadam enjoying in tantric art. And as always, relax into your exhalation. For our final contemplation of love, as we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite Pure Land Boon. And as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite For All Lots. And as we do so, we could lovingly wish that all circumstances of all beings, of all worlds, real or imagined, now enjoy the very good fortune that we see a Buddha, enjoying in his paradise in tantric art. The paradise is often known as a Pure Land or a Vati. If you feel I have earned it, type something in the chat window. Give this live stream a thumbs up and share it on social media. In approximately 2.5 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's mid-morning meditation. May you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.